let's see how the Bundesliga is without Jadon Sancho, right? Because we were
Right.
discussing our third topic, and it's who's the next wonder kid after Sancho leaves in the Bundesliga. Do you mind
Right.
if I start here?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'm going number one, and it's the player I was most excited to see in the Euros.
Hmm.
He didn't play, so therefore I'm going to say he's the most exciting player I want to see in the Bundesliga this season, and that is Dominik Szoboszlai.
Yeah.
Creativity, speed, clutchness, he's got it
Mhm.
all. I just hope he comes back from injury like healthy, because it's been a couple of months, and emotionally it must have been incredibly hard to see Hungary leaving the way they did. Like they just needed a player like him.
Yeah,
Hungary had such a good competition, and I'm sure after seeing even that goal in the playoffs, Szoboszlai would have made a difference for Hungary.
absolutely.
So he's my first player to watch in the
All right.
Bundesliga.
I absolutely like that pick. You and I both have loved him since watching him at Red Bull Salzburg. Um, but I'm going to go with one that's a little more unknown. Although he did make his Bundesliga debut last year
Mm.
at 17, and that's Mohamed Sanko for Stuttgart. Okay. So I feel like he's put himself in a position to actually get some good game time this coming season. And he was dubbed, I believe he was dubbed the new Lukaku just because he's got that similar strength, similar blend of power, pace. But he's really been growing into getting more plaudits, in the whether it's in their blogs or on their website or from fans. And I just think, and I'm going to make a bold statement here, that I think if we're going to compare a Sanko as a striker to a guy like Yusufa Mukoko,
Mm-hmm.
kind of similar in age, I think Sanko is going to have the better year this year. Do I
Yeah.
think he's going to have a Jadon Sancho like impact in Sancho's first year at Dortmund? Absolutely not. But I think he is going to work his way into being a pretty solid mainstay for them. So I believe he's 17 now, and can expect more from him this season.
That is a bold statement because I wouldn't bet against Mukoko, but you just did. So
I
you went bold, Breton.
You really know how to frame it as an all or nothing statement, right? No, I don't. I mean, I think Mukoko can have an impact, but
True.
hell, Dortmund's going to need one beyond Holland, and they're going to need to replace. So
True.
that's a
True.
whole
True.
other thing. So who's your next?
You mentioned the Stuttgart talent. I'm gonna mention the Stuttgart talent too. Tanguy Kolibali, left winger, deadly on a one-on-one scenario with
Yeah.
any fullback. I don't think he had the best stats this season. He's 20 years old, so time is with him. Um, and yeah, if you see highlights of him, you just see he's like a street footballer, like the
Yeah,
skill, the confidence. He's got long legs, so he's very difficult to mark.
a little like
And
Sancho, right? With a street footballer comment, and
uh,
just getting out of
a bit
tight
like who? A
space,
bit like who?
like Sancho,
Yes,
right?
yes, but I do think Sancho is a bit more technical than Tanguy, and I see more of a skiller with
Okay.
Tanguy. Like
Yeah.
like he likes to put that Ronaldinho skill. Sancho is more technical. He likes to keep the ball next to him, and he's just fast paced. He's more efficient, I'd say. Sancho is better, much better than Tanguy.
Well, yeah,
But
yeah.
but yeah, I'm hyped. I'm hyped with Tanguy Kolibali. Guys, watch out.
All right. He's is he French? They have he's still got that the French flag next to him. Basically, could we see him in the Olympics? I don't know. We got to go back. I got to start looking at those rosters and see who's actually playing. But yeah, I know him and Silas. And I'm not going to try his last name, and I do know his last name is different now because he's actually one
Yes.
year older than he is, and there was all that.
Hmm.
Great transparency. Uh, but they really did at one point in the season. People were talking about both of them a lot, and I'd like to see that again next year for Stuttgart. So my next one, and I'm the eternal optimist here. It's going to happen. You ready? On Bayer Leverkusen's roster, there are two players that have unfortunately been just ravaged by injuries since making their moves. Okay. Ezekiel Palacios, who's a little
Yes.
bit older now, and Paulinho. And Paulinho is the guy that I am picking to actually have a sizable impact this year. I don't think it's going to be in a starting role, obviously, but I do think that there are plenty minutes to pick up if he's healthy. I know he's on the Brazilian roster heading into the Olympics. I did look at that one before I got on here. But I am the eternal optimist because I've just, people talked about him in the light of some of the best, ability at his age, and compared him to some of the, I wouldn't say greats, but some of the very good Brazilian winger striker combos. And I really do believe he's 20 now. I do believe that he is going to finally get himself an injury-free year and have that impact that everybody expected of him coming over from Leverkusen.
What a pick. What a pick. And I was hyped because, there's a special link between Portugal and Brazil. So all the talents in Brazil are kind of known here in Portugal. Yeah. And Paulinho, I saw Paulinho's name being so many times linked to coming to Benfica or to Sporting or to Porto. And I actually thought he was going to come. But fantastic talent. What a choice. Like, he's injury-free. He needs it. He needs it. And so my next choice is counting on that injury-free next season. And it's going to be Tanguy Kolibali. Yeah. Every time I can mention this kid, I'm going to mention it. Why? Because he still hasn't proven me he doesn't deserve it. Yes, he got the injury, but he's way too good for me to discredit right now. And Bayern Munich, they ain't afraid of playing young players. And if a young player manages to step up in the level they should for that position, Bayern will play him because they know the stock will rise. And I'm expecting a very good season for Tanguy Kolibali.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to piggyback on that, but Kolibali, I remember him making that move, making that jump to Bayern, then the unfortunate situation, injury, and all that, coming all the way back. But you don't recover right away from an injury. The injury that he had, but you don't recover from an injury and then immediately get put back on the pitch by Bayern, right? So they very clearly, I can't wait to see more of him because it has been a while. But he seems like a kid with a good head on his shoulders, with the versatility of being able to go DM, being able to go center back. And I think Bayern next year is going to need all the versatility they can get out of some of their youngsters, which leads me to my next one, which is the American center back, and I believe he's 20, might be 21 now, but Chris Richards. He already technically broke out last year. He was put on as a fullback, made a couple sub appearances, made even a start for Bayern. I believe he even had a goal called back, so he could have had a goal, but he did have his first assist. And then he was sent, understandably, on loan to Hoffenheim, where he started the rest of the season. Now, I don't think they're going to send him out on loan again. I honestly believe that because he can play fullback and because he can play center back, they likely are going to stick him around. And I'm calling for him to necessarily break out for Bayern this season. He just is a kid that has a very, very high ceiling. And frankly, from a very selfish perspective, U.S. men's national team perspective, we need somebody to develop next to a John Anthony Brooks, who is our big lumbering, we need somebody with speed, athleticism, positioning, still a big guy, and that's Richards. I really think he's got a very high ceiling, and I could, talk about why, but we have to keep it a little more short. So, those Bayern, I really do hope that they lean on their youth a little more this coming season, because it's going to be not a revolving door, but they're getting older. Bayern's getting older, and they need to kind of start putting people in there, right?
Well, U.S. men's national team do need Chris Richards to deliver, and I do understand your pick. So now I'm going to my final pick, and I'm gonna butcher the name, but my final pick is Garnoff, the Dortmund talent, in which we saw him play in the senior team as a right back. But I remember seeing him in some youth footage playing as a winger. And boy, oh boy, offensively, he's got it. But I was so surprised defensively, him stepping up in Dortmund's main team. And what I managed to see was crosses, perfect. Positioning up front, perfect. He's a speedy player too. So I think Dortmund won't be afraid to bet on him in the future as a fullback. So I expect to see him much more in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, I mean, we're about a month out or a little more than a month out until Dortmund they got to start making some signings if they want to replace a Sancho. But until then, yeah, Knopf and Reina and Mukoko are definitely going to get their shots, I think, early on. So that'll be interesting. That's a really good pick too. And from what I did see from his limited time in the Bundesliga, he's got what it takes. He's got what it takes. So, all right, my last one then is 18-year-old. Kind of shocked me that he only went for about 8 million to them. To be honest, did not know that Wolfsburg did this type of I always watch who Wolfsburg signs because they're generally very good on that front, and I missed this one completely. 18-year-old Belgian defensive mid, tough tackler, probably a little too tough. He's kind of known for racking up some cards, but it's Aster Vranks, and I probably butchered that last name. And he's basically already put in, I think it's like 50 plus appearances for KV Mechelen in the Belgian league. Has like 5 goals, 4 assists for a D mid, can play basically up the spine. And he's really just known for being mobile, quick. Kind of reminds me a lot actually of Arsenal target Albert Sambi Lokanga, except he's like 4 years younger. And he's been thrust into high-pressure situations in Belgium and has fared very well for the youth national teams in Belgium. So I think Wolfsburg, if you're going to have a team to take him in and put him in a position to succeed, Wolfsburg, you couldn't look for a better place, frankly. So that is definitely one to watch. So I think he's going to make a run for the 11 quicker than some of these other guys we talked about. So definitely keep an eye on him. And there's so many others like Kwadia Kone, Angelo Stiller, who left Bayern to go to Hoffenheim, Ali Achman, who signed for Eintracht Frankfurt. So many other players to look out for. We might actually have to maybe put it in the show notes, right?
Fact.
At some point. But we'll get to that.
But